Mackie will just be Galaxy Brain over there, I guess.
Love it.
He's like inverse Wario.
Oh my God. What is happening to you?
We should be on the line.
Oh, are we?
Yes.
My pocket vibrated.
How about that? All right, there we go.
I am now
Never mind.
recording.
Oh,
Forwards, I am talking.
yes.
Oh, wait, we're not
man.
going to be on the Twitch. We're going to be on the Googles, or on the YouTubes.
We are.
This
All right.
chat popped out. Close that browser.
Yeah, I'm quitting literally everything else that I have open.
Tell that to...
Just let me know when there's a
Discorders.
tweet.
Quitting literally everything else that
Whoa.
Oh,
Whoa.
whoa.
Hello.
whoa.
Hello.
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 Caller, can you turn your radio down?
No. It's broken.
Ah,
Hey, there it is. Oh, good. It grabbed that screenshot.
what, of me looking horrifying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People are going to be curious now. They're going to be like, hey, what's wrong with that guy? I should go check that out.
Yeah. We are sparking engagement or something.
Are we?
Sparking something up.
Man,
Yeah.
Ah,
spark up that engagement.
This is how you get the engagement. You wait to do your lip lube until you're online. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting about lip lube, but I'm not close enough to be plosive. That's one big advantage of this, the distance on this microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully.
what kind is that one?
This is an Audio Technica AT numbers.
Is that,
I don't know.
Are you still using the shotgun mic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It works out really well for me because I can sit
Yeah.
18 inches, 20 inches from the microphone and be heard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Make your voice heard over the microphone. So the three of you did the homework and I'm the one who skipped it, or
I watched 20, 30 minutes of it. I couldn't take any more.
That surprises me, but I suppose we should save that for the rest of the meeting.
right.
The meeting. All right.
All right. Who's going to take minutes or seconds?
I'm already recording my minutes.
What about thirds? I'll take thirds.
I'm recording my minutes.
I just hit record.
All right. Well, what's the agenda and how are we going to break it today?
Are you recording?
What?
Are you recording?
I'd like to table that for now.
No.
Yes, I am. It's under the table for now.
Okay.
And dreaming.
I have the homework movie and then one movie tied to that movie. That'll take 2 seconds.
Well, we'll give you
I have
4.
one movie from this weekend and that's it.
I have the homework
Is a-
movie and maybe one other.
I have my small part in the homework movie and finishing Community and watching a movie that finishing Community made me remember to watch. So,
Oh, I could also, I guess, briefly talk about the homework from last episode that I wasn't here for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the In Search of the Last Action Heroes or whatever the hell that was called.
Yeah, that movie.
well, shall we light this candle or do we want to wait a
Let's-
couple more minutes for people to show
Nah.
up? No? All right.
Let's just light this candle.
Okay, let me get some beverage.
Did someone tweet it, by the way, before we...
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Allow me to retweet.
Bill's here. We can start.
Well, then allow me to retort.
Bill's here.
By the way, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like really cheap on iTunes right now. I think it was like $6 or $7 for 4K
You
copy.
can keep it.
Just saying, if you want to own it.
Already got it.
Okay,
Thank you, though.
sure.
That's a tip for you, Bill.
I thought about it because like I was like I didn't really like it, but maybe I would grow to like it. But no, I don't think I will. So that was my internal monologue, now made external. All right, let's start this thing. All right, and welcome to the Bamfcast Variety Hour.
Hey,
Bamfcast Variety Hour.
Variety.
11? Should I start remembering the numbers? Okay, 11.
Sure.
11 is.
I mean, we all thought this was like, we'll do this for a couple weeks. Yeah.
And now we're on week 78 of the lockdown.
Uh-huh.
So
Just in case
couple
you
years.
Yeah.
in case you forgot what's going on right now in 2020.
And just in case you forgot who we are,
I am Harlow.
I'm Mackie.
I'm BJ.
I'm Chuck.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, what we do each and every week doesn't matter because
Look how pleased we are that we actually did it.
Yeah,
I was
like,
yeah,
we all
we
said our
made it.
names. All right.
Look, I remembered my name. It's an accomplishment right now.
We got them all in the right order. It's fun.
I have not had to use social cues, and so therefore remembering my name is difficult right now.
Hey, I had a sweet sweet lead into it and everything. It's all ruined now, but it's good.
That's
I'm
fine.
happy
That's
that
what we
made
do.
it.
That's we ruin things.
We ruin our things immediately.
Oh yeah.
So ruined. So as
Speaking
we've been
of ruining things.
Yeah, we've kind of been setting ourselves like a homework movie or something because we're not all in the same room watching our normal bad movie. So we decided to maybe try to watch a bad movie from afar. And that movie is Eurovision Song Contest, the something Fire Saga.
The Fire Saga.
Tale of Fire.
The story of Fire
The
Saga.
story of Fire
It's a-
Saga.
It's a
Boy,
word
what a name.
salad title.
Yeah. It's the new Will Ferrell thing that popped up on Netflix and immediately got skewered by all the critics. And we were like, well, I guess we also being part-time critics should throw our
Full-time skewers.
throw our hay pennies worth of information into it.
It just seemed like a new thing that everyone was talking about. So.
Yeah.
Might as well jump on the bandwagon and get our shots in while we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and say I started to watch it and then decided not to finish watching it because life is too short. However, Chuck and BJ, I believe, watched it in its entirety, and Mackie observed a day of silence and did not watch it.
I'll refrain from comment.
Right.
Yes, Chuck and I have reached completion.
Oh, finally.
Okay, so
Yeah.
disclosure, I have not seen Holmes and Watson. You have, Chuck. Are you
Yes,
the
I
only
have.
one among us who has seen Holmes and Watson?
Well, okay, so I bailed on Holmes and Watson.
Okay.
That's how bad Holmes and Watson was.
Okay.
Michael Buffer showed up as Michael Buffer in Holmes and Watson, and I said, nope,
Okay.
absolutely not. But Will
It's all
Ferrell's
it took.
been on this kind of decline for a little while. Not really like commercially, although maybe.
Would
but
you say his
just-
career is going downhill, like that movie that I didn't talk about? I don't think because it was so. Maybe
the
I
Force
did.
Majeure remake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad, and I don't know why anyone would want to watch it. So, but yeah.
The Eurovision movie, man, I don't know. It's nice. It's a nice movie,
Is it?
but it's too long.
It's surprisingly nice. Like, I didn't expect it to... what's the word? I didn't expect it to stay as pleasant as it did,
Yeah.
but it managed to, like, not get super gross, which was a surprise to me. Like, I expected this to just...
It kept threatening to.
Yeah, it threatened to be just like a regular kind of gross comedy slash whatever this sort of contest thing is. Like, everybody would be the worst to each other instead of everybody just kind of being a little bit human towards each other, I guess. Like, they were just kind of mildly shitty and then realized how mildly shitty they were going to be and were like, okay, let's stop being shitty.
Yeah, like
at
all the
end.
contest stuff really isn't clicky in any way. It's not like, oh no, here are the toughs who are going to menace all of the smaller countries in
Yeah.
their Eurovisioning. It's not that at all. It's just, I think my thing kind of against, I didn't like it. I think it has some strong aspects to it. Like I said, it's a nice movie. I think it's kind of a sweet movie. I think it would be a really great 80-minute movie, but it runs 35 minutes longer than that. And there are just some bits that go on and on and on and are so unnecessary. However, some of those bits are very Eurovision centric. So as someone who doesn't watch Eurovision, it doesn't interest me, but I understand why it's there.
I'm only passingly sort of knowledgeable about Eurovision. I know that several of the people that show up in the big party scene
Yes.
are, in fact, maybe a lot of people, but I only recognized maybe a half dozen by sight. The only one I know by name is Conchita Wurst, who is the bearded person with the long hair. I don't know their pronouns, so I'll stick with that. So I think that if you really like Eurovision, this could be either a love or hate, depending on how you feel about Eurovision. I think it would really pay off to have more context about Eurovision. Like if you know nothing about it, you're not going to get most of it. Maybe not most of it, because it's a pretty broad comedy rom-com sort of thing. But you won't get most of the Eurovision-y stuff.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard to follow. It's not like the rules of this contest are so insane where it's just like, I don't get this. It's just a lot of the. It's just a very Europe-centric comedy.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why. Like, is it Rachel McAdams or Amy Adams? I can't.
Rachel.
It's Rachel
Yeah.
McAdams.
It makes me wonder why they decided Will Ferrell and Rachel McAmy. Like, why did they decide, aside from star power, that they were going to be Icelandic and have silly accents and
To get you and me to watch it.
I guess. I mean, it in the end, it kind of works. Like it's just silly enough, and it doesn't go too far into Will Ferrellness.
Yeah,
it gets close, but it doesn't go too far into Will Ferrellness to really turn me off too much. I mean, I watched the whole thing. About 20 minutes in, I think I was close to the Harlow point of like, do I really need to watch this? But what else am I going to do between now and when we start recording? So yeah. I guess I'll watch it. And I think it paid off, although I 100% agree that it's I think maybe not 80 minutes, but maybe 100 minutes, you know, hour 20, I think. Or
yeah, like the Russian guy's song is entertaining. I didn't need to hear it twice.
No, you only, like, they could have cut a lot of the music portions out of it and made it, you know.
I think it's funny.
You're
describing things that go on too long in parts that I didn't watch, and what I was watching already felt excruciating. So, like, having a song-based joke where they play the entire song and it's not particularly funny sounds even more excruciating. So, like,
there's not much like song-based joke.
Well, I mean,
there's not really a lot of joke.
Well,
I mean, this movie is not joke-based.
I was going to say, like, the absurdness factor of it. Like, you know, like I saw their, you know, in their head music video where about volcanoes that was early on in the movie. You know, I was like, if it's more shit like that.
The rest of the movie is nothing like that.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but I'm saying, like,
plays it pretty straight.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying not necessarily jokey, but just that, like, absurdist, like, you know, like, it's all techno dance beats and stuff about.
There is a lot of that.
The country specific. You know?
I think the film's main issue is that these two are treated like a joke, and they're not. I mean, they are talented musicians at what they're trying to do. It's just the gimmicky shit they keep trying to pull keeps backfiring on them. But everyone acts like, oh my God, these guys are so bad. And then Rachel McAdams gets out there and sings, and you're like, no, she's really good.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, like, several times throughout the movie, despite the fact that they're sort of played as a joke, and especially in their hometown, a lot of people think they're a joke, but all of the people, like, all like the performers are like, no, you guys are really good. You're not going to win, but you're really good. Like, girl, you can sing, and the song's good. y'all are just not going to win because A, it's Iceland, and B, you guys are goofs. It's not that you're not talented. It's just that you're goofs and you can't pull off any of the grandiose shit that Eurovision demands these days. But
Does
yeah,
Bjork make an appearance?
No.
no, several hundred people who look like Bjork make appearances, though, especially in
Okay.
like a party scene. There's a bunch of people who resemble Bjork.
Mhm.
But like to Harlow's point, the only like super fantastical, hyper specific country stuff that happens really is in that first, that first act, I guess.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff doesn't really come up again. There's a couple things that are a little bit fantasy, but I think, Harlow, you might want to give it 20 more minutes when you have 20 more minutes to give to something. I think you may come to enjoy it in the way that you love musicals. I think you might like some of it.
Yeah.
I honestly think that the songs in it are pretty good.
They are.
Most of the songs apparently were written for, except for the medley that they do kind of in the middle of the movie. Most of the songs I think were written for the movie, including the Ya Ya Ding Dong song. It was based off of a thing, but
That guy's determination for them to play that over and over again was delightful.
yeah, I liked that. I like the consistency out of that guy and how it kind of pays off towards the end. But
I think I have very little patience for the person who's, I mean, if we're going to use like the arbitrary gross like number scheme, like someone who's like at least 3 or 4 numbers in the ranks of 10 above another person who's madly in love with them for no discernible reason plot, much like Yesterday, where it's like Lily James is so madly in love with that dude and you're like, why? Like,
there have been
there's
girls
more to
that
it
like
than that.
there have been girls that like me.
well,
And-
I mean, I'm just saying,
I mean,
like,
I'm married.
well, I mean, I'm saying
married.
How the fuck did that happen?
the
Look at
obliviousness
Mackie.
of,
Look at Mackie's wife.
I mean, the obliviousness
That's a real
of
huge-
Will Ferrell
yeah.
in this movie,
You're not wrong.
is like it's just I don't know, like that whole plot device or whatever. It's just like it's so grating to me in movies.
I think it works for this movie because there's only like 30 people in their town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I
mean,
don't know.
also-
It's just there's just something about like I mean, let's be honest. Like, how old is Will Ferrell now? It's like the man child thing is like it's becoming increasingly like either
He's
find
early 50s.
either find a new shtick or like this is just not going to be funny much longer. Like it's just not. Like it's
Yeah.
This was just like the movie where I was like, I don't know. Like it's just like maybe it comes around at some point, but to me, the problem with a bad screenplay is like you introduce all these things, and if you're going to back in like explain them all, like you have to give me something as an audience member to make me even care to get to that resolution, because like you've got this like puppy dog madly in love with him, Rachel McAdams, for no discernible reason. Pierce Brosnan is like just angry at him, like you will not do singing and act like a man and stuff. And it's like, okay, I know there's a story there, and the movie is probably eventually going to explain it, but you've got to give me some sort of clue in the beginning. You can't present like all of these factors where everyone's just like, fuck you, you suck, you're the worst, and then it's like you, the audience, are going, yeah, you're not that great. Like I mean, you're okay, I guess, but it's like they kind of have a point. Like fucking grow up, and like you're not good enough that this is probably going to be a career for you. Like as a rational adult, there's like this thing you're fighting in your head where it's like, yeah, they're not that great, so maybe they should just get a job and stop fucking living in fantasy land.
The opposite side of it, at least what this movie plays out, is no, they're actually really good. They
Okay.
just made a couple mistakes. They couldn't get a break.
Sure.
Nobody would give them a break because they're like, oh, you're a singer in Hawksville, Iceland. You don't sing. You fish and you drink. And then once you're done drinking, you fish. Once you're done fishing, you drink. And that's all you're supposed to do.
Yep.
So that seems to be the main reason that they sort of like
And-
denigrate them.
Like I said, maybe it comes around to that. Like I said, just from a screenplay perspective, you've got to you've got to give me something to make me root for the people, and they weren't. It was like I was just immediately agreeing with the so-called antagonists of the movie, where I'm like, yeah, no, you probably should quit. Like everything you're saying is making a lot of sense.
Like, you didn't think that first song was any good?
It was in their head. Like it was in their head, and then
But
it comes out, and they're just
they-
like beep 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 pop pop up, on the keyboards, and it's like okay, it sounds nothing
Well, all
like.
of the like grandiose shit was in their head, but they were.
I don't know.
Fair. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like
it sounds like you didn't even make it 20 minutes in.
I got to the point
sounds
where
like you make it-
they won the Icelandic section and how that happened,
Okay.
and then I was just like, "This is weird," and no, like I was just like, "That's weird and gross," and I mean,
That pays off eventually as well.
I
but-
could see that clear as day where that was going. I just didn't care to follow the thread. Like, I mean, when you had the one guy in the meeting like, oh, it's going to bankrupt Iceland. It's like, gee, I wonder, Scooby-Doo villain, did he do it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm like this movie's greatest defender right now. Like,
Okay.
but I just think it's better than bad. It's goofy. It's weird.
I thought you were about to say good.
It's like
It's
log.
better than bad. It's good.
Yeah. It's great for a snack and it fits on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's probably more worth your time than the internet will tell you it is.
It's like I said, it's more Europe centric, and I think
Yeah.
I know specifically because I was listening to XM radio over the weekend, and the DJs who work on like First Wave and stuff like that are usually European, and they were raving about it, and they were just like, "Oh, it's so great! This person shows up, and this joke was so perfect," and they were like listing off references to things that have happened in past Eurovisions, and I'm like, if you're making references to that, I'm not seeing it and I'm not getting it. So
Did a boat
I could,
explode?
no,
previous Eurovision?
I don't
Oh.
think that happens. But I think there's a market for this movie. It just wasn't me, even though I am probably the biggest Will Ferrell fan of the four of us. It still wasn't for me. My problem with that was that it seemed so much like the Will Ferrell movie that we've now seen a dozen times. It's just that same arc of man-child really, really, really wants to do a thing and is going to be petty about it and whiny about it the whole time, but he's probably talented also and will pull it off at the end.
See, I haven't seen a ton of recent Will Ferrell movies, so maybe I'm insulated against that hate.
So
Well, to confuse things, it was Amy Adams who was madly in love with him in Talladega Nights.
Right.
And then he
And
was
there's-
blind to it for the whole movie until a certain scene.
That's why I was confused
Yeah.
about Amy Adams.
Yeah.
And
the Talladega Nights is awesome.
Yeah. It is great.
So if I could just jump off of that and talk about this other movie. So when this was over, I was like, man, that's really like Blades of Glory. I
like
remember
not
watching
funny?
Blades of Glory and being like, yeah, Blades of Glory is okay, although Napoleon Dynamite ruins that movie. So I went to watch that, and it was one of those cases where Just Watch had the wrong listing saying it was streaming somewhere. It's like, this is streaming on Amazon, and then you go to Amazon and it's like Blade of Economic Power or something, some 50-minute documentary, and you're like, how did that get linked to this? But it's the thing that happens all the time. So anyway, I was like, well, I need to watch one of these lesser man-child Will Ferrell movies to see if my recollection on all this is correct. So I watched Semi-Pro again.
See, Semi-Pro is the one that I feel like I'm the lone defender of.
I liked Semi-Pro a lot more this second go-around than I did when I first saw it. But that movie's problem is that it's a sports movie, and it does sports movie things. Whenever it's not doing that, when it's just everyone, and the cast in that movie is ridiculous. Even the people who come in for one scene to do just a bit, it's ridiculous. But it's the same movie. It's the same arc. It's the same thing. It's just Will Ferrell is a man-child who wants to do what he wants to do, and the system is against him, and boo, and then finally he gets to do it. And all these movies are the same, and that's what I think the problem is that early on when it was like, that's the third time he's done it, I'm like, okay, I'm still down with this formula. But when you get to like the 10th one, you're like, okay, do something else. But the problem with that is the last few movies that he's done, like The House and Holmes and Watson and another one that I'm not thinking
What's
of.
the house?
The House is the one where he and
It's one with Amy Poehler.
Yeah,
Where they
he,
start a
Amy Poehler-
casino.
Yeah, they started. A
Oh, that
casino in
one.
their
Okay,
basement.
yeah. I actually even watched that. And
Yeah.
I forgot that was what the fuck it was called.
Get Hard
Yeah.
is another one where it's just like these aren't good. These are bad, and none of those were this formula. But it's like, so I don't know. At this point, I feel like he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. But whatever. What the hell do I know? It was #1 on Netflix when I watched it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, he also did what was that Lifetime movie thing, but
That
then
was
played
funny.
it straight
that
the whole
was funny.
time.
That
Well,
was pretty good.
He also does the Spanish language film, the Mexican
Yeah.
film, where it's
Yes,
like it's
that
not
was-
a joke.
yes,
It's
that was
just
good too.
him in it, but it's like
That was pretty good,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
like I mean, he's not
Casa
above
de
doing
la
these
Madre.
really bizarre things, like. And I'm okay with that. Like if you want to do some weird ass Andy Kaufman-esque, like fully commit to a bit, I'm behind you doing it, even if I don't want to watch it. Like great, do weird things, but like this was just
This just felt weird in 2020, a big budget Netflix movie, and it's just this again. And the movie is beautiful, like the way it's shot and the locations of it and everything. It is a gorgeous looking movie.
oh,
I
except for when
wonder
they
if they
The
didn't-
director of Shanghai Nights really did a good job.
except for when they add in After Effects 1 level CG stuff in it for no discernible reason.
There are a couple portions of that, but
Yeah.
the way it's shot generally, especially, I feel like they may have brought in the Eurovision director of photography as the second unit for the Eurovision parts, because those all look like fantastic and really resemble everything I've seen out of Eurovision.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm going to make a point to kind of watch some of.
I've said that
I know
every year
you're-
for the past 5 years, and I always
no,
forget.
it's all on YouTube, so I can go watch some
Okay.
old shit. And
Okay.
I don't think are they even doing Eurovision this year in
No.
these times in which we live?
No, I believe it was canceled. This is all we have. This
Probably
Netflix-
for the best.
This Netflix movie is all we have. So 12 points to Netflix.
Chuckatania awards 12 points to Netflix. Harlow awards no points and May God Have Mercy on Your Soul.
Yeah.
I award them 8 points.
And Harlow, if you'd stuck with it, you would have gotten your Graham Norton fix. So
Fair.
Okay, I didn't know I had a Graham Norton fix, but
yeah, you
was-
like Graham Norton. You're
I-
always watching YouTube
yes.
clips of Graham Norton.
he's a funny
in
and
the
clever
film.
man. Yes.
Yeah. He shows up. He plays Graham Norton.
Oh, that's a good choice for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's like
I've-
the Tony Danza of actors.
Rather than him playing Ed Norton.
No, I want to see that. I want to see Ed Norton playing Graham Norton
And Graham Norton playing
Graham
Ed
Norton playing Ed Norton.
Yeah.
They've probably done it on the Graham Norton show,
Probably.
sponsored by the Bamfcast.
I'm sorry. I'm just laughing about calling somebody the Tony Danza of actors when he in fact is an actor.
He's an actor. I was going to say, what's
know.
Tony Danza then?
It's like the Walter Payton of athletes.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Walter Payton? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did the homework for the previous show episode, whichever it was that I wasn't on, in search of the Last Action Heroes.
Yes.
That was that a Netflix doc or was that on Amazon Prime?
It was on Prime. They didn't make it.
Yeah. No, it was a Kickstarter
Okay, yeah.
thingy.
Yeah.
I gotcha. I don't have a whole lot to say about the documentary other than these two things. One, it's like 25 minutes worth of Cynthia Rothrock, and I love that. That's more Cynthia Rothrock than you usually get on literally anything. And I really appreciate her perspective on those things. I guess I have three things. Two, there are so many people, like they got so many people to sit down and do 45 minutes worth of interview to put together a 2-hour maybe documentary. Like, just an incredible amount. Like Bill Duke gets so much screen time. And that's something that I really liked. Matthias Hues, it's always strange to see his face. Am I wrong?
No.
And a bunch of dudes that have been in a bunch of movies that I've seen, whose names I don't know. like Scott Adkins. Like, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I've seen him, on a dozen movie posters or in a dozen, cast lists. The
He's
third
on a few
thing is
Netflix posters.
yeah. The third thing is, okay, four things. Third thing is, if you're not Furstenberg, you're Lastenberg. The fourth thing is that I don't really know what the point of it is.
The documentary?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
we discussed
I feel
that.
like it's awesome that all of these people got together, not got together, but they got all of these people to sit down and do all of these interviews. And every single second of it made me want to watch whatever they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
If that was the point, great. But I feel like they weren't trying to do that. They were trying to set some sort of narrative, like all documentaries have an agenda. I'm not entirely sure what this was, except maybe just to celebrate it.
Well,
And that's odd for a documentary. Normally, I feel like a documentary is trying to push, like, Fran Tarkenton was the worst quarterback in the NFL, and we'll tell you why right now. Like the death of football at Fran Tarkenton's hands, a documentary, whatever.
Man,
It's just the weirdest name that I could come
a lot
up
of
with.
Fran hate.
Yeah.
I harbor no ill will against Fran Tarkenton, but
I think maybe you do.
Yeah.
no.
I
it's
mean,
just
when
a
you
fun name
searched
to
your
say.
soul for somebody who ruined football, Fran Tarkenton's name came to the forefront.
Well, the first thing I searched my soul for was a funny football name.
Sure.
And Fran
Johnny
Tarkenton.
Football.
Yeah. Look.
Fran Tarkenton is a funnier set of syllables than Johnny Football.
I guess you
I
have
will-
to actually play in the NFL to
will-
say you ruined it. Haha,
Good point.
burn,
Ah,
Johnny Football,
burn.
fuck you.
Suck on that, JF.
I've had a little bit of time to think a little bit more about this documentary, and I think I came to this conclusion. It's sort of like the biopics that I don't care for, because it's like they spent all the time and effort to accurately recreate a period of time, tell you a little bit of a story, and then it just sort of ends. Like Ali. I always bring up Ali because it's like, man, that's well acted, it's well cast, it's like shot well, like a lot of it looks like the original footage that you see from it, but it's like it just kind of ends, and it's like, well, all right, that was a few months in Muhammad Ali's life in in the 70s. All right, that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, neato.
But like that's kind of like how this was to me. I was like, thank you for all coming together and talking about various things in action movies, but what was the whole thing about? Like, what? Like, was it
Right.
just that? Was it just like, all right, was it like a roundtable discussion of like, hey, remember when? Oh yeah, I remember when that was cool. Yeah.
But nobody was really in the same room together.
No,
It was
no.
just the interviewer and the interviewee.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Like I said,
I will
yeah.
give it the benefit of the doubt. And I will just assume that it was a celebration / hey, remember all these fucking rad movies? You should probably go watch them because they're rad. Watch every action movie that has ever come out because they're all fucking awesome. Not true, but that documentary makes you think that was true. So shortly after I watched that, one portion that struck me was like all of the talk about, well, not all of the talk, but enough of the talk about the Jason Bourne movies and how the Jason Bourne movies were a transitional phase in action movies. Like they went to all like handheld, rapid cut close up, because they had
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. They had Matt Damon, and they had to, part of it's style and part of it's to make Matt Damon look good as a fighter, which he probably is now, but he wasn't back then. And they were talking about how, like, the Bond movies were a certain way, and then you bring in Jason Bourne, who is like James Bond but cool for the 2000s, and then a few years later, the Bond movies started to ape what had been done in the Jason Bourne movies.
Yeah.
And I didn't like any of that back then. Like, I hated all of it. I didn't want any of the shaky cam. I didn't want any of that like close up, gritty, realistic, fighty sort of shit that any of those movies brought to the table. And so I never watched a Jason Bourne movie. It was a struggle to get me to watch Casino Royale. Eventually I capitulated, and I like Casino Royale for what it is. But I was like, I've never seen the Bourne Identity all the way through. I've seen some fight scenes, and that's it. So I watched the Bourne Identity one night, and holy shit, that movie's actually not bad.
Yeah.
That's the good one.
It's fucking awesome.
Put that on the poster.
Like, I was extraordinarily surprised to find myself really getting into the Bourne Identity. Just the shaky cam bullshit isn't as bad as I thought it would be, or remembered that time period being, or
These people were merging.
It wasn't until
things.
the second one.
Yeah, they were merging things like that. Somebody specifically quoted Doug Liman for having changed and everything. It's like, no, it was Paul Greengrass that changed to the handheld shaky cam. Let's cut every 3 seconds. Now, not saying that Doug Liman doesn't do fast cuts, but the handheld thing was much more latter Greengrass Bournes.
there's a lot of it in
sure.
Bourne Identity.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot more than I would think I'm comfortable with, and it's probably because I've seen, like, that's just how action movies are shot nowadays for the most part, is close up, handheld, constant movement, constant cuts. But so maybe I'm acclimated to it, but it was real fucking good. And honestly, the fight scenes look really good in that movie. Matt Damon looks like a badass. It's a cool story. It's a whole lot of fun. I had kind of thought to myself that maybe I'll make a watch through of all of them, but I don't have time for that. I'm just gonna maybe it at least puts the next one on my radar as far as something that I can watch. Like, it just adds another thing to, like, hey, I'm in the mood for something I haven't seen before that I might like. So cheers to Bourne Identity from 2006 or whatever. You're actually pretty good, and I'm sorry I talked so much shit about everything related to you back in the day.
That was a lot.
Finally,
was-
redemption.
I did read
that
the
was
books.
closer to like 2000, wasn't it? Like, that was like
It
early.
was 2001.
Yeah.
2000. Oh yeah, 2001. Never
Or no,
forget.
it was 2002 because it came out same year as Die Another Day. Yeah.
I think that's why
Yeah.
so many people were like, "Hey, look, a new Bond," because Bond proper had run itself into the ground. So they were just like, "Yeah, all right, I'm with Bourne now."
Yeah, that's fair. That's all fair. But yeah,
Okay.
good times. I enjoyed a thing.
I will be curious
Hooray.
how your opinion changes when it changes directors, because everything I don't like about 2 and 3 are director based.
So you're saying the Paul grass
grass.
isn't greener?
No. Yeah. It was
You just broke Chuck.
It was Paul.
Chuck just lost
Paul
his mind.
Greengrass and Better Times with Doug Liman.
Please tell me someone has a weed movie to talk about so we can
Green grass and high times.
No.
No, not
No.
really. No.
I have a movie that involves a vice. That vice is gambling. I finally saw Uncut Gems.
Oh, I saw you tweet and Discord
Yeah.
about this. I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't like that movie.
Well, all right.
Fair.
The only direct thing I can say about the filmmaking is that I think the soundtrack is atrocious and doesn't work at all for what they're doing, like, in any way. And I don't know what the fuck it, like, aside from, like, hey, let's give it an 80s synthy vibe. That soundtrack serves no point what the fuck ever in that movie. And I don't understand why they did it that way. Otherwise, yeah, it's a hell of a well-made movie if you enjoy people screaming at each other for 2 hours and 20 minutes with about 3 lines of dialogue that are actually spoken in normal voice, but they're also like more like, I don't want to fucking yell at you, so I'm just going to speak normally at you and make it worse. So, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those movies that I should have known was never going to appeal to me, but I still watched it. But
I
mean,
appreciate you giving it a shot.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean,
just
no.
it popping up on
it's-
Netflix made it a lot more like, all right, yeah, let's give this a
and
go.
Jen wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Are you sure about this?" And yeah, she didn't like it either. But yeah, I guess it's just kind of like if I want to see somebody make the worst possible decisions at every opportunity, I'll follow Trump's Twitter feed, because I don't need that
Fair.
in my movies. Because really, it's like there's a point like late in the movie where I was just like almost threw something at the TV. I'm just like, you're fucking joking right now. Like, fucking stop already. Like, this guy's allowed to make one good decision in this movie. And it's like, nope, absolutely not. Fuck you.
Almost.
Fuck you. Almost. And then it's like, nope, I'm going to destroy everything again.
I think what's annoying to me about the movie is because you have this character, and he's obviously, all you're doing is you're watching him make the worst possible decisions all the time, right?
Yeah.
The annoying thing about this movie is this character.
Well, yes. I mean,
Yeah,
actually,
like
really,
The
that's
guy
it.
who's in literally every scene.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like you're all you're doing is you're watching him make the worst decisions and fail and have this gambling addiction, but then you see where he lives, and it's like, how? Like, how is your life
Yeah.
like not crumbled apart before now? Like, how has it? How did you maintain enough to like afford this really nice place that you live in that you're fucking up and everything? Like,
Yeah.
I-
and like
I-
mistresses in amazing apartments too. And,
Right.
Yeah.
My guess is the fact that he sells really expensive jewelry to basketball players.
Sure, but I mean, if he truly is as much of a fuck up as he appears to be in the time that we're watching him in the movie, any money that would come in would just go right back out. Be like, I gamble, gamble. Like,
So
it's just weird.
here's my perspective on it. So he's got a lot of money because he sells expensive, probably shitty jewelry that looks expensive to people who value things that look flashy. He's basically like a bling dealer for people who haven't seen the movie. I think this is sort of like people like this. Like, what's the guy that's really shitty from Tiger King, the one that everybody hates?
Joe Exotic.
No, the
Or
other
the
one.
other one.
The one that everybody
Doc
hates.
something.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Carol Baskin.
No.
Yeah, the guy that everybody
Yeah.
hates.
The guy with the
most.
bandana with no redeeming qualities. Yes.
Right.
Jeff.
That's the kind of
Bandana has no
motherfucker.
redeeming qualities.
The
guy
bandana
wearing the
has
bandana.
redeeming qualities.
Oh,
The
okay,
bandana
alright.
is fine.
Okay, cool.
But guys like that guy, those are guys that like they float cash and they float favors and they float things, like him and Adam Sandler's character from Uncut Gems. They float all of these balloons of cash and appearance and float favors, and they're borrowing money from 60 or 70 different people. Eventually it catches up with them, especially if they have like a gambling problem like this guy has. Eventually this shit's going to catch up with Jeff, and he's going to get, he's going to,
They're going to find him in a dumpster.
they're going to knock his dick in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find his head on a turtle through, crawling through the desert or something.
I understand
But I
that
think-
reference.
Yeah, I've seen that now. I can make that reference. I'm excited. I'm also really energetic and really chatty tonight. I apologize for being out there. But I haven't talked to like humans in a long time. So
Why we're here?
Hooray.
yeah.
Glad you settled for us.
What? Welcome.
Max said, so I think one of the brilliant things about Uncut Gems is them showing sort of the crescendo of all this shit happening to somebody like this, who not only is floating all of these balloons, but also has a massive uncontrolled gambling problem. Like, this kind of shit probably would have happened to Michael Jordan if he didn't make more money than God. But people who don't make more money than God, like when you have a gambling problem, it just, until you get help or you die, it just keeps getting worse. Much like many addictions, either you get help or you die. There aren't,
Yeah, and I mean, I understand the point, and I understand chasing that American dream of being rich, and everyone wants to get rich quick. So this is his way of doing it, and like an addiction is the thing that destroys it. I understand all that, but it's also kind of like, as far as the filmmaking goes, you could have done that in 45 minutes less movie, and I don't think anything would have been lost.
Fair
I mean,
criticism.
that's the thing is, and a movie that intense for that long is just kind of like, enough already. It just kind of, I mean, I understand, and I see like, where like the Spike Lee influence comes in very clearly throughout it, but it's just, I guess I'm realizing those movies are never going to appeal to me, where
That's
it's
fair.
just constant stress and people making just the stupidest decisions, and then even when they have the chance to learn from them, just absolutely rejecting that completely and just barreling forward with the stupid thing they were going to do anyway. And,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it's funny that you say that the quote unquote Spike Lee influences kind of made me realize maybe I don't like. I'm not going to say all because I mean that's a weird thing to say, and there's a lot of movies I like, but there are a lot of what.
No, you're good.
Oh, I just look up and you're like doing weird fucking hand movements and shit.
I'm just playing with the backgrounds here.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Like New York filmmakers, I think like it probably bleeds into their filmmaking because I mean if you truly live in the city and you're surrounded by this constant racket, I feel like it's like you feel like your movie needs that tone too. And I mean I feel like that's fine as a diversion from time to time, but like you don't need to make me feel like I'm there in the middle of like a construction site in New York City. Like I don't want that energy, for 90 minutes to 2 hours, like it's fine from time to time. And, most movies have the sense to let you break out of it for a little while. Like, I mean, Goodfellas is a 2.5, almost 3 hour movie, and it's loud and it's bombastic, but it's like, there's also quiet moments that let you catch your breath. There are down times. It's not, Uncut Gems was like, rah, the whole time, like,
I think there are like two
Yeah.
times where it calms down and it's quiet for like 90 seconds maximum.
Yeah, and
then
the
it
thing
just
is, like,
cranks
and
cranks it right back up.
one of the few ones is when he's talking to his daughter, but that whole conversation is rife with tension in a different way. Because you can tell like she does not want to talk to him at all or have anything to do with him, but is just kind of forced into it for that 90 seconds or whatever.
yeah. So, like I
Yeah,
said,
I think it. I've already said my piece on Uncut Gems.
Yeah,
I think
I
it
just-
works, and
Yeah,
but I totally understand that it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
thing. It's an
I
effective
get
movie.
that.
It does what it sets out to do. I just don't enjoy what it's doing. And aside from the soundtrack, like the soundtrack and maybe trimming 45 minutes out of that movie, I think, are the two things filmmaking wise that I would change. But, that would, who knows what a different movie it would be if it's not that that length that hammers you until the very end.
Yeah, I think they could get away with a shorter length. Like that's pretty valid.
Yeah, because so there's so often it just feels like, all right, just get to the fucking auction already. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, we really like, it's just kind of like there's a few loops that repeat that you're just like, come on, all right, we get
Yeah.
it.
Well, it was funny. Pam, the girl I was dating at the time that I saw that, she laughed at the end of that movie. Like she was so fed up with everything that happened. Like the entire movie, she hated every second of it until the absolute, basically the last thing that happened. She was like,
Yeah, I said finally.
yeah. And I could not fault her at all
Yep.
for feeling that way. 'Cause it was fucking tense for me and I liked it. But
Yeah, I mean, I get why people enjoy it. I don't think I'll ever understand why the soundtrack was chosen though. Like that's the one thing I just do not get at all as far as the filmmaking goes. But whatever.
yeah.
does somebody else have something, or should I jump in?
You had some TV stuff, I believe.
I do. So I always tend to pick a show that I'm either going to watch or rewatch, and just I don't know if I'd qualify it as binge watching, but it's just my back burner show. It's just what I go to when I sit down to eat or whatever. And I've been rewatching Community. I decided to I did that. They hooked me back in with that little like table read thing, the quarantine special, and I was like, yeah, Community was really funny. I should go back and watch that, and I just did, and I've already completed it, and that's almost on the level of binge watching because that's pretty quick. Six seasons. I know they got less episodes, down the line, but first couple seasons were like the old 23, 24 episode things. All right, so I hesitate to bring this up, but I want to because it's a conversation, and I think it's an interesting one. They being the streaming service is not like NBC, Universal, or whatever, had just decided to pull an episode of Community prior or after I got through it.
Pretty much a top 5 episode.
Yes, I mean like probably the top episode. Really, I mean like it's. I mean, I think like most people, like casual Community people, would be like, "All right, it's between like paintball or this, or like maybe the lava episode." Like, it's like
the remedial chaos theory.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple like really important ones where it's like, all right, but this is up there, and they pulled the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons episode. The reason being is because like Ken Jeong's character in that they said it was because he dressed in blackface. It's like, okay, yes, but he was dressed like a drow elf. Like it's like that's not exactly the same.
That's really what it is?
That's why it was pulled. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. And I want to say,
and also a Golden Girls episode has been pulled because they were wearing mud masks on their face, and
attention, white people.
Yeah.
This is not like I don't speak for black folks, but I've read enough takes from black individuals to know they don't want shit pulled from TV because there's a mud mask.
Yeah.
We want justice for Breonna Taylor and Jamie Johnson and so many others. We don't need performative bullshit out of our hashtag woke, corporate overlords.
All right. And granted, like I said, this is Netflix and Hulu, or I believe Hulu decided to, which technically I guess mostly is NBC at this point, right? Or no, that's all ABC now, isn't it?
Hulu is mostly Disney.
Pretty much all Disney now. Yeah. Because NBC's got their Peacock worst name streaming service ever.
Bailed on Hulu.
It's named a streaming service called Peacock. Just think about the words in your name of your streaming service and also streaming. That's just dumbasses. Anyway, but anyway, this is just one of those cases of like, I get your reasoning, but like to me, this feels like almost like someone was like, "I'll show you." Like this feels like one of those like this was such a dumb boneheaded, doesn't have anything to do with anything, that it feels like somebody went in and did this is the future all liberals want. It's like, no.
Like Chevy Chase did it.
Yeah, like nobody fucking asked you to remove this episode or was ever complaining about it once. In fact, like the joke is made at that like they're sitting around the table and they're doing the like who's going to sit here and play D&D, and they pan over to Ken Jeong and I mean, like I said, if you know what a drow elf, it's not blackface, it's complete blackface and white hair, and it's like doesn't look like a human, and he's just kind of sitting there like, yeah, what's up? And Shirley is like, are we just going to ignore this hate crime over here? And it's like, and he's just like, I'm a drow elf. It's like they're not even humans, and it's like, and then it's just like it just proceeds. That's the end of the joke, the reference, except he sits there the whole episode like that just because, and it's like that's the extent of it. But like I said, I don't think anyone was complaining about that. Like I get the sentiment, and it's like, you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. Obviously go and find the actual offensive content and remove it, or put disclaimers is really the better way to handle it.
So I think here's the thing on that. I think what's happening now is a lot of companies are trying to be ahead of the potential backlash that they would get if someone says like, hey, this episode of Community is problematic, and they'd just be like, they took care. But it's like HBO Max pulled Gone with the Wind, and I understand why they did that. But then they reinstated Gone with the Wind with the introduction by one of the Turner Classic Movies hosts, putting it into historical context, kind of like how the old Bugs Bunny DVDs and stuff like that had this kind of like, look, this shit is way racist. that's what was happening at the time, and that's what artistry was doing, good or bad. It's product of the times, and here's the context you need to understand why that's a thing.
Yes, and I think that's where I was coming from. Is like that's what needs to happen. Like nothing should be removed from history. I don't think. Like I mean, I'm not talking about
well,
statues and bullshit like that. Statues
okay.
are statues. Like who gives a fuck? Like that's statue does not change history. Like we're not saying like go remove this thing that's glorifying the leaders of a failed revolution. Like that's what that's doing. I'm not saying forget the failed revolution. Like, no, remember it, understand why it happened and why it won't happen again. Like, understand history. Like, never ever remove history. But statues aren't fucking history, and you can eat a dick if you think they are. Like, I mean, a few statues are exceptions. Like, like I'm not saying like go remove the Statue of Liberty. It doesn't mean anything. Like, we have let certain statues and things have a greater meaning. Most of these Confederate statues have no meaning to anybody except fuckheads. So. Yeah.
I they think were put up during the Jim Crow era.
Right.
Right.
So
I think a lot
matter.
of these episodes are going to get pulled, and then they'll be restored with some sort of context. Sure. I think they're just like panicking.
Obviously, yes. I mean, I don't think this has disappeared forever, and it's we live in a digital age. Nothing can actually disappear forever. If something was ever released on a DVD, somebody's got a copy of it somewhere. All it had to do was get digitized once. So like, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying like.
Everyone is overreacting.
Let's maybe slow down, think about what you're doing, because like I said, to me, when you pull something as ludicrous and not obviously racist intention at all as this, and it to me it's a backwards motion in the actual movement of trying to be better people. It's just such a, like I said, it's such a ludicrous thing. It's like it has nothing to do with what you're saying you're doing it for. Obviously, and it's right there on the surface. And there's so many other,
and it hurts the cause of actually getting rid of stuff that is a problem, because then you have all the people going, well, they're just throwing out everything, and we need to be targeting the correct stuff.
Yeah, and I mean that's the other thing is like this immediately opens up the question. It's like, well, what about all the other actually open racist shit that was said, like by Pierce, or even worse, his father, or just things. I mean, Community is a quote unquote controversial show because it says a lot of things, and then it's like it tries to deal with it. Does it handle it all perfectly? No, nothing that's ever like I think trying to make any kind of statement about society ever really does. But it tried, And to me, like what's even more detrimental, I think in now rewatching it, is just how often it was like, again, the same character, Ken Jeong's character, was constantly like just going like in the background like gay to like everything, and it's like that was all kind of solved by like literally the last shot of the last episode where they're having a group hug, and he's just like, he does it again and he goes like, no, I'm actually gay. And it's like forgiven? I don't know. Like, I mean, it's sorry. Yeah, no, I'm saying like, I mean, that's I mean, it's one of those things like like.
And here's the thing about Community is that Ken Jeong is the villain of that show, obviously over time a lot more than he was at the beginning, but he's a bad character, and so I have a problem when we're not holding people in reality accountable for wearing blackface, but we're holding television shows that are putting bad people in blackface and having the right people point out what you're doing is bad, and then saying, well, that's horribly racist, we have to get rid of that.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me. First, hold the people in positions of power accountable for their bullshit. And then we can work on the entertainment.
Right. Yes.
The entertainment is not... No one was watching that and going, yeah.
That, like...
People were like, oh, no, this is wrong.
I'm sure everybody's seen the Golden Girls, not the Mud Mask one, but the one with Blanche and what was his name? I've forgotten it.
I don't know. It's your story.
The actor's name?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know what's. Yep. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I have no idea what we're referencing right now.
Okay, hang tight.
You guys are on one page.
About the Confederate flag.
I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
We're getting the name. Stand by.
Golden Girls. Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle was on the Golden Girls?
Yes.
Yeah, like real young Don Cheadle. Like, so there's a scene with Blanche, and Blanche is like all Southern, and she comes from a long Southern family, blah blah blah, and there's something going on where there's a big old fucking Confederate flag right in the middle of the living room, and Don Cheadle's character shows up and basically takes Blanche to task over, about 6 minutes worth of scenes. And like, I fear that the reaction to everyone discovering that is going to be like, oh, just pull that episode because it's got a Confederate flag in it. And that's almost like what they're doing with some of this stuff is It's like, oh, it's got a Confederate flag, it's got to go. And it's not that something has a Confederate flag in it. It's that, like, this particular set of scenes is the way we need to teach lessons about it, and that's how it needs to be. That's how it needs to be contextualized.
Well, I mean, there was a very special episode of Give Me a Break where they dropped the N word, but it was like to say you don't say that word, and it's
that are you talking about the blackface episode?
Yeah, I mean that's a blackface episode too. I mean, and like it's like not just that, but it's like it's all the reasons like don't do this shit, and it's like but
that was a very strongly that. I think we've talked about this before, but that, like, as a child was like, oh, that's horribly wrong. I will never do that in my life ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me. Like, whenever I see someone in black, I'm like, didn't you watch Give Me a Break? Like, do you not understand what that means? I know not everyone watched Give Me a Break, but that episode should be played in schools.
In schools.
So I mean, it's context, and obviously, like I said, just the Community one was just like, all right, like there's this, which, like I said, has nothing to do with this, and then there's Pierce's dad and this other one just saying actually awful, horrible things, So yeah, but no, like it's still a really good series. Like, I mean, it's all over the place. I hate that like there's like some really, 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 really quality stuff in season 4, and like that's the one they're just like No, Gas Leak episode the season that didn't happen, and it's like no, they're like there's still some good stuff that came out of that season, and sort of by the end they kind of like agreed on what was canon in their own weird little way, that came out of season 4. But yeah, great show. Still need to make a movie.
I need to rewatch the 6th season.
6th season's
who
really
knows
good.
what'll happen.
6th season's really good. Like I don't think. I think like watching it now, like concurrently, like I don't feel it doesn't feel as cheap as I think it felt like at the time going to the Yahoo series. Like there's still a lot of people that show up, guest stars and stuff in that season. And that's the one that they do the weird thing where it's like every episode is like they're spinning off some other show at the end of it, for some strange reason.
Yeah, Portuguese Gremlins is what everyone knows.
Right. Well, that was more like, they mentioned that in the show, and then they were showing it at the end. I'm saying like they would just do like these weird things where it was like the butcher and the baker, and and it was like it's like Shirley and somebody else, and the cop, like Jonathan Banks, the cop or something.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But Jonathan Banks wasn't in the 60s. I don't know, but whatever. He's saying like they would do these weird things where it was like we're making up a spin-off season thing afterwards or whatever. Yeah. But
so what season was the Jonathan Banks season?
That's season 5. Yeah.
Okay, so
And didn't that have Keith David in it as well?
No,
was that 6th season?
That's only 6.
Because Keith David and Jonathan Banks were the Pierce replacements, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It was what cranky old man can we get in here?
Yeah. And wasn't it Paget Brewster was in season 5?
Nope. She was also in season 6.
She was.
She was the Shirley replacement because they also booted Shirley out that season.
Right.
So like season 4 was like the last Pierce season, and even like it was weird. So I don't know if Dan Harmon was coming back in to start working before they finished that season, or what, because like there's a weird thing where Chevy Chase starts disappearing from a lot of the second half of the 4th season of Community. Like he starts like just popping in from time to time, and it's weird.
I think that was him wanting out.
Maybe. I'm just saying, like it's real weird because like it's like, oh, they've already kind of started writing him out like at this point, like, and I forgot that like he actually did a little thing in the 5th season, like a recorded like hologram thing in the 5th season. So like he wasn't completely gone from the 5th season, but mostly. But like so Donald Glover left.
Was that the animated episode, like the video game episode, or was that one in?
No, it's Jeff just walks out into the courtyard
Yeah.
and there's a hologram of
Right,
Pierce.
and then no one else ever
Yeah.
saw it, and he was like, like they're
Yeah,
like,
because I do like he mentions it again.
He's like,
and
I've
then
never
you're like,
found the
"Where's
Pierce
this
hologram?"
None of us have seen this.
but
That didn't happen, did it?
so like he was gone, he was dead, like basically off camera in the beginning of the 5th season, and then they had their little like will reading thing, and that basically led into Donald Glover leaving on the boat as you know to get his fortune or whatever with LeVar Burton. But and then like I said, like Shirley's in like the beginning of the 6th season, and then just kind of like leaves, or actually no, she's already gone, but they like have her in like an episode or something like that, and she pops up from time to time. But yeah, mostly it's Paget Brewster and Keith David show up in the last season. So yeah, it's still good. Like it's still really good. There's still some really fantastic episodes in that show.
I remember like there's one of the early 6th season ones. There's just someone asks Keith David a question, and he just sits there and stares at him for like 5 or 6 seconds before he actually answers it. That it's one of the best like fuck you reactions I've ever seen in anything. And it's like, that's what you do when you get Keith David. You ask him a dumb question, you have him just stare at you for a minute before he's like, no.
The better one, Jonathan Banks had an even better one. Somebody said something, and I don't think it was a question. It was just like somebody said, I think it was the Meow Meow Beans episode, where he was just they were talking about the ridiculous nature of that name. And like his reaction was just like, he looks over at like the flag in the library. He's like, I fought and died for this flag. And it's like, you didn't die. Like you're right there. He just goes in this whole thing and just like storms out of the room. It's just like, I can't even with these words that are being said right now.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that show.
It's so
I
good.
need to get back on it.
Yeah. So after I finished Community, I knew I wasn't ready. Like, all right. So I full disclosure, I've tried several times to enjoy Rick and Morty because it's a thing. Like,
oh boy.
Well, no. I'm saying Rick and Morty is one of those things. It's like the fandom has basically made it like there's this firewall to enjoying Rick and Morty because it, from a personal standpoint, it's sort of like a friend of the show and the show Lost. Like you couldn't say like, hey, I think I want to watch Lost because it was like, oh, you're gonna watch Lost here. Like this is what you got to watch to read this, and then it's like I'm like, never mind, I don't want to watch Lost anymore. And Rick and Morty fans are kind of like that, where you're like, I'm thinking about watching Rick and Morty. It's like, oh my god. Okay, settle down. Like it's never appealed to me. This is like my 3rd time of trying to watch Rick and Morty, and
maybe you're just not smart enough to watch Rick and Morty.
I'm probably
that's
not.
probably what
Yeah,
it is,
that's definitely what it is. So
You have not passed the IQ test. I'm sorry.
So basically, I was like, well, I really like Community, and obviously, I like it best when Dan Harmon is involved because the 4th season is the worst season. Even though there's some really good stuff in it. What else has he done besides Rick and Morty, which I just can't seem to get on board with? So I picked out of his filmography the strangest thing in there, in that he was a writer on the movie Monster House.
Monster House, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I've been meaning to watch Monster House and never have, and I didn't realize he had a writing credit on it. Now I must watch this movie. So completely unrelated to Community, I watched the 2006, I believe, animated DreamWorks movie Monster House.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Monster
By the
House.
end of this quarantine, we will have covered all the DreamWorks animation movies.
Monster House is interesting because like I feel like saying it's a DreamWorks animation does a bit of a disservice because like this one's like not just DreamWorks produced, like this is Spielberg and Zemeckis directly produced movie. It's a step beyond like, oh look, it's Spies in Disguise or whatever like rhyming bullshit thing we have this week. I'm just saying like the generic, we don't give a fuck about DreamWorks movies. This is not one of them. This is actually a pretty good movie, and I actually would recommend it to adults as well, because for anyone who's ever said things like, man, they just don't make good kid adventure movies like The Goonies, which isn't that great, but they don't make those movies like that anymore. You know what I mean? It's like they don't exist. Monster House, they made one a little over 10 years ago. It's basically kids go on a thing, none of the adults believe them, and shit goes crazy, and it's cute and interesting. It's not Iron Giant level of emotional or good, but it's in the same neighborhood. Like I mean, it's like it's not next door, but it's close. Like it's a much higher quality level of animation and caring than a lot of things. Like I said, maybe that's a disservice to say it's anywhere close to Iron Giant, but I'm saying it's closer to Iron Giant than it is to fucking Spies in Disguise or whatever bullshit Rio or any of these other things where it's just like, oh yeah, look, Ice Age 14, Yay. Huh? Turbo, sure, yeah. Sure. But yes, I'm just saying, give Monster House a try. And you can definitely see there's some definite Dan Harmon stuff you can like, oh, yeah, he very clearly wrote that part. Because like he's got a story by and like screenwriting credit with 2 other people. So, who knows what of his script survived versus other people's ideas. But there are several things where it's like, that was very clearly him. But
one of the other writers wrote something called Laser Fart.
Sure.
Okay.
There you go.
DreamWorks don't give a fuck, man. They're just like, whatever, get in here and write us a cartoon.
Strangely, it's like most of the voice acting is pretty good. Even Kevin James is a voice in it and is okay. Like, strangely, and I'm saying that because I'm now preferencing the only one that was like, bad choice, and Napoleon Dynamite. Once again, John Heder was a voice in it. Luckily, he's not in it very much, but like, I was just like, wow, okay, that was a weird thing to go after in 2006, but okay.
Everyone was chasing it. Dude had a career.
Did he?
Yeah. He starred in a lot of movies.
Okay. Well, you don't even like Napoleon Dynamite, do you?
I've seen that movie through osmosis. I've never sat down and watched it start to finish, but I believe I've seen every frame of it by walking through rooms that have been had. I don't like him.
Yeah, I tried to watch it a few years back, and just it's a bunch of characters in search of a plot.
I think it's got a great soundtrack. I think it's one of those neat indie movies that's shot really well. The characters in it are just like, make me want to strangle myself.
All right.
So,
did you ever watch Nacho Libre, just out of curiosity?
I have not.
I'm just saying, like, that is the strangest, like, second movie shift. Like, I mean, I like Napoleon Dynamite just fine. I'm not going to like, oh my God, it's the second coming of indie hilarious cinema or something like that. But Nacho Libre is like this weird thing because it's like, it's almost like Wes Anderson level of clever and sweet. Like, it's so bizarre, and it's from the fucking second movie from the Napoleon Dynamite director with Jack Black in it in a fucking luchador thing. But it's like, it's got this like really sweet tone throughout it, and in like really bizarre, interesting shots throughout. It's the strangest like second movie thing. Like, I just shift from one movie to the other, in my opinion.
I think you might like to hear that director is in talks to do Shanghai Dawn.
Okay. Well, all right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
If it happens, it'll be him.
Okay.
So we can have, he can join the illustrious David Dobkin, director of Shanghai Nights.
And Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh, yes.
And Marmaduke.
Man.
Yeah. I feel like I've celebrated the entire David Dobkin catalog at this point.
It feels like we have, yeah.
I'm sure there's some other shitty movie on that list we haven't watched yet, but I'm sure Extra will take care of it at some point because it hates me. And by that I mean Chuck.
I don't hate you.
That's true. You did give me one. Was it? Did I give it 5 jocks? One 5 jocks.
Did.
Yes, I did. One 5 jocks movie and a pile of like zeros and 5 bags.
Wait, out of how many episodes of Extra?
Oh no, I've
had some.
I've had a
okay.
But we've also watched some like legit good movies. That was just like, all right, I feel weird giving this 5 jocks, but this movie's awesome. We just watched it to get to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've watched like the Poseidon Adventure and stuff. Awesome movies.
Yeah. Well, what was it that I gave 5 jocks to then?
Recently?
Yeah. Fuck, what was that?
The New Barbarians.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. The Goldman Sachs, yes. Mm-hmm. No, that movie's like wicked weird and good.
So wicked weird.
It's a strange tone movie. Like it's just it's strange tonally, man. Like
Speaking of weird tone, your Shanghai Nights director used to direct Tupac videos.
Uh-huh.
Tupac videos and Marmaduke. How?
Well, hey, life comes at you fast, Chuck.
I guess it does.
Mm-hmm.
If someone had to direct the Marmaduke movie.
Yeah.
Why
There's
not
only one way you
David
get to boat money, and that's by working.
That's right.
And that's by Marmaduken.
Put up your Marmadukes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Owen Wilson calls you and says, "Hey,
Yeah. Oh wow.
let's make a Marmaduke movie."
He's like, listen,
Marmaduke.
Dave, I got one word for you. Marmaduke.
Hey, my man David Dobkin. Want to make Marmaduke?
Marmaduke.
It's gonna be fantastic. I'll be the voice of the dog. Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Does anybody else have anything?
No.
I didn't realize I'd ever tried to do an
I
Owen
don't
Wilson
think so.
imitation
That's
before.
pretty good, Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
everybody can do a wow, but
Right. Wow.
Hey,
But to
man,
keep it
Dockin.
going after that.
yes.
I gave Domkin.
Wow,
Yeah.
you really kept it together. You nailed it. It's the best I can do. Do we have anything else?
No, I think we're done. Yeah.
No,
I think we're done
no,
here.
I think it's time to shut it down.
Yeah.
I think we're done here. I'm just trying. I'm workshopping it. I'm spitballing it. I'm trying.
Okay.
Trying it out.
Here's Owen. I'm saying.
I bow to your superior skills. We're not worthy.
Christ almighty.
No.
Oh,
Wendy.
God.
All these Christian
I'm not
Slater
going to kill you,
impressions are
Wendy.
crazy.
I'm just going to bash your fucking skull in.
I don't know how to segue into this, so just go to bmfcast.com and click all the buttons on the right-hand side for all of our socials and our Patreon and our Discord, and get involved with some of the shit we're doing, which is mostly this right now.
Yep.
Patreon.com/bmfcast. Keep an eye on that. That's how we make money, so please give it to us.
Yep. And get bonus podcasts. You can't get anywhere else.
That's right.
Exclusives.
Cool. Well, let's get out of
Triple
here.
exclusives.
Should we get out of here? I think we should get out of here. Yes?
Yes.
All right. I'm Harlow.
Mackie.
I'm BJ.
I'm Chuck.
And this is Bamfcast Quarantine Week number 678,492 out. Bye, motherfuckers. Mackie, what's your shirt? Is that your Idle Thumb shirt?
It is my shiny idle thumb shirt.
Yes.
My Kickstarter bonus. I
R.I.P. Idle Thumbs.
yeah. They never really even did an announcement one for the end, you know?
No, they're just like, we haven't done a podcast in 8 weeks. We're not going to do another one.
Well, yeah, they're like, we're going to Valve. We'll update you on what we're going to be doing. And then they just disappeared,
They all signed
Yep.
NDAs, and that was the end of it.
I guess.
Did they shut down their Patreon?
I don't know. I was never part of the Patreon. I don't know why, but I just never. I'm sure they did because, they weren't doing Important But True or Important If True.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope they did.
Man, Important If True was really good, at least for a
Yeah.
little while.
Now I
What?
gotta see.
Hey, open up.
It's still there. Yeah, they still have the tiers.
Really?
They still get $1,900 a month.
Holy God.
That
Yep.
seems inappropriate.
They do have a poster that says he stole the money and he's not giving it back. That's their goal. If they reach 20,000 per month, they will go Kangaroo Jack. They'll
right.
steal the money and they will not give it back.
Okay.
Yeah, January 11th, 2019 is the last one that says, "Hey, what's going on with us?"
Wow.
Okay, they do say that it's on hold, so hopefully it's still on hold. Who knows?
You know who needs to put their shit
They're never
on
coming
hold
back.
is
Yeah.
motherfucking Planet Fitness. That shit should have been automatically paused months ago.
Do you have a Planet Fitness membership?
Yeah, and you know how you cancel it? By going into the fucking motherfucking Planet Fitness. That's the
Or
only way.
just
I'm going to just
put a
call my
stop on
yeah.
their
I'm just going
credit
to call
card.
my credit card. Just be like, just fucking. I'm not going in there and canceling the shit.
I'm fitting this planet-sized pizza sphere into my face.
Yeah.
That's the only Planet Fitness I'm doing.
Word.
That was a good joke.
I enjoyed it.
I was talking to the people that didn't laugh. Like
Fitness, planet-sized penis.
I'm sorry,
pizza
penis?
sphere. No, pizza sphere.
Oh,
Do not-
pizza sphere. I thought you wanted planet-sized penises. Sorry,
This is not a
Oh, no.
wrath. There are no
Think you know.
planet-sized penises.
you don't know that, Chuck.
Yeah,
There are
what if
two
they're
things you were not
tiny, small
considering.
Planets.
There are,
Yeah.
there's very tiny planets, and there's also could be very large men out there.
Sure, like Dr. Manhattan's just floating around out there.
Yeah.
Big blue dong.
It could happen.
Planet Big Boots.
Planet Fitness in your mouth.
Nope.
All right, I'm hitting stop on my recording
What?
now.
No.
Oh, I stopped mine years ago.
Right after we said hello.
Yeah. Fuck that.
This isn't worth saving.
All right.
Remember to empty your trash in Google Drive occasionally,
Nah.
because if you don't, it will just consider your trash part of your storage.
It does, yes.
Well, that's really smart.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Sometimes you almost spend money on trash.
That's not cool.
Don't do that.
I mean, I spend money on
I was
on
going to
trash.
say, that's all I do
Regularly.
all the time.
Also, I got smart and put my quarantine casts on on the 1 terabyte drive instead of keeping them on my 256 gig SSD. Finally.
Pretty smart.
Yeah.
Pretty sneaky, sis.
How big is this file? Only 405 megs. Not too shabby. Drop it in the old Dropbox. There we go.
There we go.
Were you able to use my broken audio files for who?
Haven't even started that one yet.
Okay. I was just curious since it basically had to be split in half because the mic was fucking up so bad.
I'll be able to make it work. Do not worry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Guess
at the very least, we have the studio track, which will cover
Yeah.
any badness. So
Any weirdness?
we'll be totally fine.
Yeah. Actually, 'cause I listened to that No Quarters where I forgot to hit record for like the first half hour, and there's such gaps. It's like, holy shit, how did anyone even listen to what I was saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
This
Shitty
thumbs up
computer.
is for you in the chat.
What?
Sorry, work sucked, Kyle.
Sorry, Kyle.
That's what happens, though.
Work sucks. I know.
Yeah. I just love my new job. There's some people who are like, oh, God, it's so busy here. There's so much to do. And I'm like, really? Are you sure?
You just,
I-
bro, you just ride that as long as you can.
It's just funny because it's like I had forgotten what it's like to be really fucking awesome at my job and like just destroy everything they put in front of me. Just be like, all right, that's done. All right, what's this? That's done. All right, cool. Hey, check that out. Done, done, done. Approval, first draft, done, done. It's really weird because I was used to like walking into work and then being like, why are you such a fucking idiot? Why is everything broken? Why is this your fault that the deliveries aren't here? You know, like it's weird not to get blamed for all the problems that aren't my fault. So.
I wish I knew what that was like.
Yeah, same here.
I took 2 days off and
Everything broke.
yes, literally everything. And nothing was done in my absence. And it was all blamed on me for not being there or not doing it all in the week previous, which was I was covering for somebody who was out. It was also our first week without my counterpart. So I was doing 3 whole jobs plus the additional job that they put on me because our best of the year thing, I had to do so much stuff for that because they can't get their shit together. So basically like 3.5 jobs that I was doing and managing to keep everything afloat last week, just barely. And then things that happened on Monday and Tuesday, they're like, why didn't you do this? And I was like, what about all the other stuff that I did do
Yeah.
that I shouldn't have done? I could have just not done any of that. They're like, but you didn't do this. I was like, oh, well,
Yeah. No favors. Like
fire me.
yeah, that's been my thing is it's like any voluntary thing becomes a responsibility. Very
Oh yeah, you
quickly,
touch it.
and-
You touch it once, it's yours forever.
Yeah, and
I don't volunteer for shit.
yeah, I'm being very conscious of that nowadays.
Yeah,
Terrified
good.
as to what I'm going to walk into on Monday.
Every time like someone has like one of those moments where like anyone want to volunteer to do this, and there's always crickets in every fucking meeting because everyone knows that the same thing. Like, oh, if you do
Yeah.
this once, that's your job forever. So yeah,
I everybody that I have to like train or talk to that's new at work, I warn them. I'm like, listen, people may ask you to do things unless it's specifically your job to do it. Don't touch it. If you touch it once, it's yours forever.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding about this. There's no rhyme or reason to it. If
it's like picking up a
somebody
baby
saddles
bird.
you with-
It's like it's fucking it's attached to you forever. Like the mother will not come back and get it.
that's actually a myth.
Oh, I
I've been following some bird experts on Twitter
some
lately.
Bird
and
law, been reading bird law.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in your spare time.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Look,
actually
man.
deer.
Yeah.
Deer that is true for, because the mother will leave the baby deer somewhere, and if you move it, then the mother's like, "What the fuck happened?"
So
It
that
smells wrong.
that episode of Community lied to me, where Keith David and Abed saved the bird. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
TV lies to you. But yeah, nobody ever believes me, and then they get saddled with it's the funniest thing. If you stay there like more than a year, like if there's a yearly thing that happens and you touch that yearly thing, the next year, even if everybody else from that project has moved on, someone will remember, like, oh, you did that. Like, and they will come back and make you do it, even though you like
I just say no. I didn't.
you did 10
They're
minutes
like-
worth of
they're
work
like,
on
"No,
that project.
It's in the archive tagged with your name on it." I'm like, "Oh well, somebody must have changed that. I didn't do it."
Yeah. Luckily,
Wasn't me.
nobody knows how to look at archives at work. But yeah, people will come back to you and be like, "You helped me out on this best of project last year. Here's all of it. Can you do it?" Or they don't even usually say, "Can you do it?" They just say, "Here's all of it.
Do it.
When will it be done?" Which is why I never touch anything at work, and I still have too much to do.
Yep.
Anyway, work bitching.
Anyway. Hey,
If this,
got a 3-day weekend at least.
Yeah. If Kyle, if any of this sounds familiar, we're sorry that you had that kind of bad day. Also, we're sorry you had any kind of bad day, because we want our fans to be happy. We also want the people who hate us to be happy, but less so.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Let's
Anyway.
get out of here, shall we?
Yeah.
hard go.
It's
I'm
flappy.
slappy.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
What?
I don't know. We just
Yeah.
decided.
What
Chuck
was
is-
mine?
The fleege. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know.
What?
Fleejay. I don't know.
I think this was just you and me in the
eBay.
car.
Yeah, probably.
Arlo?
Yeah,
Maybe.
it was you two and
I'm eBay.
eBay. That's what it'll be now. We were driving down I-4, and I looked to my right, and there's this building with big red letters, and it says Harbco, Harbco, and something just snapped in my brain, and I went, "I'm Harbco, I'm Slappy,
Yeah.
I'm eBay, and I'm fuck." And
Yep. That's how it starts.
yep, that's our dumb, never-ending revolving door of deeper and stupider inside jokes.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when you've known people for like more than a decade.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well, actually, the
Anyway.
decade starts on the first, day.
All right, I'm leaving now. Goodbye.
So we haven't known each other that long.
all right, okay.
That was
All
for
right.
correcting me about the bird dropping. Or don't pick up
I
the
just
dead
wanted
bird.
to. I just wanted to throw
Well,
out
I've been
a neat
reading
little-
about birds, and that's not true.
I just wanted to throw out a neat little piece of trivia for people,
It's
so that
okay.
they knew that they could rescue a bird. You can rescue a bird.
No, you can't. You'll kill them. You've
Okay.
condemned them to death if you rescue them.
R.I.P. Little birdie.
All right. Bye.
Bye.